You are in a feud with Donald Trump right now. Do you know this?
No, I don't.
Because it's very exciting.
Oh,
for
really?
me, because he doesn't like me either, and so
Oh,
anytime
okay.
there's somebody new he doesn't like, I feel a fraternity, a brotherhood with this.
Okay, so we're having beef?
You're having beef because I guess you said in an interview that you were a better golfer than him, and then you told a story. Is this true that he signed you up for one of your golf clubs and didn't tell you?
Yeah.
What happens when a late-night stage stops being a place for jokes and turns into a courtroom of public opinion? It starts with laughter, comfortable, familiar laughter, until suddenly it doesn't under the studio light stand. Not yelling, not ranting, just staring straight into the camera with the kind of calm that makes you lean forward. The setup sounds playful at first. A story about image, about myth-making, about a man who has spent decades branding himself as extraordinary. And at the center of that myth sits Donald Trump, proudly declaring himself a very stable genius, immune to doubt, allergic to humility.
It says, I don't know Samuel L. Jackson to best of my knowledge, haven't played golf with him, and think he does too many TV commercials. Boring, not a fan.
Not a bad thing.
Now, it's very interesting when Donald Trump says someone is out on TV too much, because, he's with exposure, he thinks it's very careful to just barely be on TV.
But Jackson's expression doesn't follow the laugh. He waits. He lets the repetition sink in. In satire, repetition is revelation. When the montage ends, the room shifts. This isn't about jokes anymore. It's about obsession. About a man who measures everyone else by their grades while locking his own academic pass behind steel doors. Jackson steps forward, voice steady, almost disappointed. He reminds the audience that Trump has guarded his school records like a national secret, that even his former fixer, Michael Cohen, testified under oath that lawsuits were threatened if those records ever saw daylight.
Is it a thing in the press? No, it's not. Tell me it's not. I mean, really? I mean, out of all the things that need to be dealt with presidentially, he's worried about me saying that he cheats at golf? Or, that he doesn't really know me? Is that what the deal is?
And that's when the question lands heavy and unavoidable. What kind of confidence requires this much protection? The monologue sharpened. Jackson doesn't rush. He frames it like a mystery that's been hiding in plain sight for 50 years. While the country was distracted by daily chaos, gold-plated project, impossible promises, spectacles stacked on spectacle. This one detail stayed buried not because it was irrelevant, but because it was dangerous to the myth, Trump Jackson notes, is impossible to turn off. He doesn't power down, he doesn't pause, he just keeps going louder each time. Like a villain who doesn't realize the camera is still rolling. More machine than man, more loop than leader. A comparison Jackson drops with a smirk to Ultron.
With Donald Trump either.
He didn't golf that day.
He didn't golf that day.
He did not golf that day.
So who did you end up golfing with?
With Mr. Clinton.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, Bill and I went out and played. Don showed up in the middle of the round, and we went into the clubhouse, and he gave Bill a jacket because it was a little chilly.
Then the tone changes. Jackson grins, not playful, but surgical. He announces that after months of digging through dusty archives, after chasing whispers and half-jokes, his team finally found it. The document Trump never wanted seen. The room goes quiet. The screen behind him lights up with a vintage scorecard dated 1965 stamped with the unmistakable name Donald J. Trump. This is theater. Yes, but it's theater with teeth. Jackson pauses. He lets the silence do the work. Then he delivers the number 970 out of 1600. No drum roll, no exaggeration, just the figure hanging in the air. The audience doesn't laugh at first. They calculate. They process. And then the reaction hits. Shock, gasps, laughter, breaking through disbelief. Jackson calmly supplies the contact. The national average that year was higher. The so-called genius didn't just blend in. He fell below the mean. That's when the laughter turns sharp. Not mocking, but clarifying. Jackson doesn't gloat. He connects the dots. Suddenly, decades of bluster feel different. The obsession with IQ, the fixation on elite schools, the endless need to declare brilliance out loud. It stops sounding like conf and starts sounding like compensation. Jackson leans into the absurdity with a few satirical jabs, sample questions, ridiculous answer. Not to humiliate, but to underline the contrast between image and reality. And that's the real punchline. Not the score, not the docu, but the exposure of how fragile myths are when they rely on volume instead of evidence. The audience erupt, not because someone won, but because something snapped into focus. The laughter isn't cruel, it's relieved. Relieved that the spell broke. Relieved that the emperor's robes were finally examined under real light.